how long would you want the court to spend on a case, right? If it's your life, your 20-year marriage and your kids, how long is enough for me to devote time in that courtroom to your case? Or if you're going to go to prison for life, how long should I devote to your case? That might take me 20 minutes, and that's 20 minutes on a case, just skimming through it, making sure it's good to go. Again, how long did they take getting to that point? We might be over that hour. And then now all these new cases are getting pushed back. Yeah. And so that's where we get the backlogs and we get those issues. So there are a lot that are worked out, and I hope that people can work them out, because I'd rather that happen than have to come in and, again, make one side angry or the other side or both sides angry about what I decide. There's grumbling everywhere. I mean, there's complaints. Yeah. I hear complaints. It's not like I'm immune. And of course, I'm a judge, so people are very nice. They laugh at my jokes. They tell me I'm funny, and they go on.
Judge Rush told me, he was the first one to tell me, he goes, as soon as I became a judge, I was more attractive. My jokes were funnier. I was more captivating.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there with a client watching a hearing, just waiting, and my phone was on silent and everything. This was like one of the Nokia, like straight up, flat. And my church alarm went off. That's how I know it was a Monday.
Nobody laughed. It's like, hey, if there's any problem, it's your fault.
So and let me know if I cross any kind of line about this, but what do you...
we haven't crossed enough lines as it is today.
As if that hasn't been the rule the whole time.
Right. I get that notice from the board.
What do you see in your future? What are your future plans?
Oh, well, I just got reelected, so 4 years I'm going to be the judge of the 366.
Excellent.
It's going to be a great time. So I've got a 12-year-old girl, so that's going to be an interesting time in my life, I think, from 13 through 17. See, you're nodding. You know what you did. So it's going to be, and then my boy's going to be becoming a teenager by the time I'm ending that 4 years. So it's going to be interesting. But I don't, this is the thing. People I like my job. I don't have anywhere else to go at this point in time. I'm 7 minutes from the courthouse from my house.
Sweet.
So that is a plus from the 4 hours I was driving every day before I became a judge to the 7 minutes now.
You're driving 4 hours every day?
Yeah, well, as a criminal defense lawyer, you'd start off and I'd start off in McKinney, drop off my kids in school in Plano, drive over to Rockwall, which is 35 miles away, for their morning docket, come back to Collin County for their morning docket, go down to Dallas for that morning docket, then drive back to Rockwall for their afternoon docket for my felony cases, back to Dallas to my office, drop off the paperwork, drive in rush hour traffic to pick up the kids in Plano to get home to McKinney at night.
Wow.
So, you're talking each county here is, 35 miles apart. So the county seats always in downtown, whatever. So you got downtown Dallas to downtown McKinney.
You're living in your car.
Downtown, Rockwall. So there's a lot of driving involved in that. And I'm enjoying this part of it right now. So it's, I became a judge right before COVID. So that was a different deal. So it was October of 2019 I became a judge, and then COVID happened right in that following March. So it was a different time. It was all new for everybody for a couple of years. Now we're kind of easing back into.
Do you have any trials before then? You must.
We were rocking and rolling with the trials. We were going quite a bit, and then those obviously fell off a cliff, and we're back up to trying them again. And moving cases and doing what we need to do. And in Collin County, we don't have a backlog. There's no delay for many of the cases necessarily that were
it seems
came
like
up during.
For the most part, we're past the COVID.
Yeah, we're all past that. And so everybody's, back to being pretty normal in it. But it's, I enjoy it. So I'm not going anywhere. There's not some future grand plan or anything like that. It's, I'm enjoying this. As long as the citizens will have me, then continue to try to do a good job.
Aspirations for other higher benches later?
No. I like this.
It seems perfect, especially while you're raising kids to do that.
Well, I think we're doing a really good job in our court and the courts in general in Collin County. So, I'm not going to stop a good thing if it ain't broke kind of a situation. Right. Things are going well, and we're getting to the point now where, because of how well we've done in moving cases, we have the ability to kind of do a lot more with our cases in each court. So, the hardest thing for people sometimes to understand is how long would you want the court to spend on a case, right? If it's your life, your 20-year marriage and your kids, how long is enough for me to devote time in that courtroom to your case? Or if you're going to go to prison for life, how long should I devote to your case? Well, when you break it down for people and say, look, based on the 2,000 cases I get filed every year, I have at most maybe an hour of time to handle your case from start to finish, if I want to handle all those cases, right? Because I'm not there every day of the week, all right? We take weekends off. So Monday through Fridays. And then you've maybe got, 40 weeks out of the year that things can actually happen.
Yeah.
Because of holidays and vacations and everybody getting that. So you might get 40 weeks out of the year. And so you're again factoring that an hour of time for your death penalty case, theoretically. Of course, we spend more time on those things, but an hour of time on your 20-year marriage. That's it. That's how much time I have to keep up with the dockets.
Well, you're welcome for all those cases that we settle without having to take up any of them.
Well, and they do, and I'm not knocking that doesn't happen, but that's what.
How long do you spend on an agreed decree? A couple, 3 minutes?
Knows. I mean, sometimes they can take a long time. So an agreed decree is when the parties kind of agree on the terms in the divorce, which can work out. But you got to read that decree.
Yeah.
You got to read through all 60, 70 pages that you crazy guys came up with and all these rules that these parents have to follow.
I didn't write the law. I just deal with it.
Well,
They don't just sign it.
right. And then you went over it and go, okay, so remember, you're going to get first, third, and fifth weekends, but not Thursdays like it normally is. You're going to have your kids on Fridays from this hour to this hour, and mom's going to pick them up on this day. I mean, those are all the things you work out. And those, I can generally skim over at that point. But what about the kind of case where, rich husband has his lawyer drafted, and all of a sudden, mom, who's never had to work a day in her life, now all of a sudden is faced with all these realities, but dad's got it kind of written in a way that's going to kind of mess things up for her in a way. Well, I don't necessarily want that to happen as a judge, as a lawyer, but does it? Sure. But I got to make sure that things are legal and careful. So even though it's agreed thing, and you might think, oh, he just has to put a signature on and everybody goes on their way. Nah, it's a lot more than that. And that might take me 20 minutes. And that's 20 minutes on a case, just skimming through it, making sure it's good to go. Again, how long did they take getting to that point? We might be over that hour. And then now all these new cases are getting pushed back. Yeah. And so that's where we get the backlogs and we get those issues. So there are a lot that are worked out, and I hope that people can work them out, because I'd rather that happen than have to me come in and, again, make one side angry or the other side or both sides angry about what I decide. That's kind of what I get paid to.
How often do you not sign an agreed final?
Not very often, but every now and then we'll point out some things, and usually that revolves around some emails back and forth between the parties and figuring out what we do, because it's just things that are either unconscionable that I can't sign, or things that are odd, or there's mistakes, right? I mean, nobody's perfect, and pages missing, like they've got terms and conditions because the person who uploaded the order didn't include it, or, it might be a legal assistant, or it might be the lawyer himself, or, there's just some lawyers that aren't that great, and I have to review their stuff because there's a lot of mistakes, and there's things that happen like that. And yes, we can maybe fix it later, but I'd rather get it taken care of the right way at the beginning, and that again slows things down. And it slows things down on that case and all the other cases that are coming behind it. So there's a lot that goes into scheduling these cases and getting them worked out. But it's, again, when I tell people that and say it's an hour, people lose their minds in some respects, because I'm going to take away your kids for the rest of your life.
In an hour?
In an hour? Because that's what we're going to present. That's how much evidence we're going to present.
Most of those cases are, you go to temporary order hearings. That's on you see a lot more temporary order hearings, I'm sure, than finals. And those, I mean, you only have an hour, because 20 minutes per side, and then however long it takes the ruling. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I wish we could take weeks with every case. It's just not possible. And sometimes we do have hearings. We sometimes have to let people have their say and just go through the process. And a lot of times I think people are appreciative of that later on, but they don't, when they're in that fight, when they're in that argument, they're not very happy with it. And we do have to set limits because of that. Now, again, we could get more judges, and then we run back to the same issue of nobody knowing who we are and all those kinds of things. We can work more efficiently in the most part. Hopefully you get those kind of judges, and that changes depending on which county you're in, how long this judge been there, what their knowledge base is when they became judges. Those are all things that kind of play into how quickly cases are disposed, and the lawyers themselves, how well they work with their clients, whether or not they can get their clients to agree to things, slows things down. I try to be very efficient. That's just military aspect and my OCD kind of kicking in. But I can say with all certainty that we do a really, really good job in Collin County on making our cases move quickly, making our cases. I think word has gotten out, I guess. Like if you're filing, you better be ready to go very quickly in terms of the things that you expect to be done on your case, because we're not going to be waiting around for you. We'll make decisions without your input if that's what it takes to move the case along. There's conversations to be had about that with regard to what should and shouldn't happen. And lawyers have differing opinions on that, but I will tell you that the whole idea of justice being slow, it's not necessarily true in Collin County. We move very quickly.
Collin's pretty quick.
Yeah, and comparatively speaking to other counties, I mean, our metrics and our numbers show that out, and our ability to reduce our caseload has shown that out. We do a very good job, and like I said, when we were in COVID, we were still appearing, in court every day, but it was by Zoom, and we were moving things very, very quickly to help people get along, and do some of the things that you were talking about and move those cases. Because that didn't stop. People didn't stop getting divorces over COVID.
Nope.
A lot of times we got a lot more divorces after COVID.
Yeah.
After people lived together for a few months.
There's still
Sure.
That's still happening. Like themes of we were okay until COVID, and then we were on top of each other, and then
now everybody's just angry anyways. So you get a lot more of that these days happening, and it ends up being a situation for the courts, and we see it. I mean, it's not like we're ignorant of it, but it's something that plays into how much time we're spending and what we're doing on those cases. So be proud, be happy. You get to enjoy it. Are you?
I like practicing Collin County quite a bit.
We're best, really, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
You are.
You can say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are.
All of you. There's not a judge in Collin County Courthouse that I'm unhappy with. I like everybody there. There's not a court that I'm
at least somebody is.
There's not a court that if a case falls in that court, I'm going, oh no, I'm not at all. It's just not an occurrence that happens, right?
Right. No.
I'm trying to think if there are any, but I definitely probably shouldn't mention them if there are. But
they will not be on your podcast.
Yeah. That's not an issue or a problem that we have. Now I hear in Houston they have some. I hear a lot of grumbling out of Houston, but
there's grumbling everywhere. I mean, there's complaints.
Yeah.
I hear complaints. It's not like I'm immune. And of course, I'm a judge, so people are very nice. They laugh at my jokes. They tell me I'm funny, and they go on.
Judge Rush told me, he was the first one to tell me. He goes, as soon as I became a judge, I was more attractive. My jokes were funnier. I was more captivating.
Yeah. Well, you do have a captive audience. Nobody leaves the courtroom right in the middle of anything, but it is a little bit different from that standpoint, that people treat you a little bit differently. But it's fine. I like where I'm at. I think we're in a good spot, and so things are working really well.
What questions have you always wanted to ask Judge Tom Novak?
Me? Well, he kind of already talked about it. I mean, I was going to talk to him. His wife's a judge,
All right, so then we'll finish up with this. What is
I think he's very, very nice.
Yes, thank you very much for coming to the podcast. I want to ask you this: what advice would you give? So let's go through some advice questions here. So, what advice would you give to a young lawyer?
Well, kind of what we already talked about is the case is going to come after. That's going to be more important and bigger and more important to you. So don't get hung up on the case that you're working on. You got to let it go.
What would your advice be to somebody who thinks that they want to be a lawyer and they're in, grade school, junior high, high school?
God, don't make the same mistake I did. Save yourself. Go be a doctor.
I know, right? Be a doctor. Too many of us have that same
No,
thing.
I love what we do. So if you're, people always told me when I was younger, say, hey, you like to argue, you should go be a lawyer, or you like to talk in front of people. Not knowing, of course, it's teachers putting you up there and making you talk. That kind of trains you to do it. But, if that's where you are, that's where you are. If you like doing that, that's what you do. If you like helping people, that can be a lawyer too. We can do whatever we want as lawyers. So it's people that usually can't make a decision as to what they want to do with their life, and it becomes lawyers.
There was a lot of that years ago. Actually, admission applications to law school have been slowly dropping.
Yeah, well, the last couple of years ago they've gone up, but we're kind of creeping back up, as it were, with the numbers. But I think we can do anything as lawyers, and that really is true. So we can be in any industry. You can be in the military. You can be, working for a pharmaceutical company, or you can represent families in crisis or defendants or whatever. We can do kind of whatever it is we want to do and stay in whatever industry. So if you're kind of one of those people that says, well, I can't decide really what I want to do in life, lawyering's probably where you want to go.
Wait, so indecisive people?
Yeah.
I don't know too many indecisive lawyers.
Oh, no, they're indecisive. They just argue. There's a difference.
Okay, you know what?
They
You're
pick
exactly
a position.
Right. They are actually somewhat indecisive.
They are. No,
but they argue.
Type A personalities who
Yeah.
really do it. Yeah, there's a trend.
There's a lot of that, actually.
Yeah. You know, there's like a meme I saw. It's like, and it's against women. So I'm you're sitting here, but it was kind of like, they're asking a woman who's on death row, what do you want? Where do you want to go for dinner? What's your last meal? And she's like, well, I don't know. What do you want? And
That is a funny one.
right. And it's kind of like that's a lawyer in some respects,
Yeah.
right? The lawyer's going to ask that follow-up. Well, I don't know. What are you going to do? And I joke around because that's my wife. Like she could be on death row and she wouldn't be able to decide what she wants as her last meal. But that's kind of the image that I have of it.
I know exactly what I want. For a last
well,
meal.
but
you know what I want too, I bet.
Oh yeah.
But but how long have you been a lawyer?
It's more how long was I a waiter at Three Forks?
But look,
because I know what good is, man.
But look,
your last meal, I want bone-in ribeye.
You've waded through everything.
Sea bass.
You've waded through everything in your life, and you do it. But look, you still can't decide what you want to be. You want to be a lawyer in court, a podcaster, author.
You are now getting me in trouble.
Right?
No, I want to be all of it. I'm just going to
wants
do
to
it
be
all.
You're a very indecisive
Ask me
individual.
how many languages I'm learning on Duolingo.
Right, too many.
9.
Not
and
enough
I
to
think
actually
you just
learn.
made 10. Okay, do we want to? Okay, let's do this. I'm going to look through and see if I actually have Polish. I'm pretty sure I don't, but I'm going to add.
I have a question.
What's
Have
your
you had
question?
to
Why he
put-
does his?
Have you had to put any attorneys in jail?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Just curious.
I'm waiting for Dame to come by.
I don't have. Dude,
Bring your
I've
toothbrush next time.
I got real close. You know, the first thing that ever
Well,
happened to
you're
me
entitled to a PR bond, but you do have to process through. It might be a little while.
Yeah.
10 hours later, we might get you out of the jail, but you're going to get your PR bond.
You know, the first thing that happened to me as a lawyer, the first court order with my name on it as a lawyer was cell phone contempt, $100 fine. Because I had my church alarm set for like 9:15 or something, and I was sitting there with a client watching a hearing, just waiting, and my phone was on silent and everything. This is like one of the Nokia, like straight up, flat, and my church alarm went off. That's how I know it was a Monday. And I look up, bailiff's hand comes in. And at first I didn't think it was mine. I'm like sitting there and it's just ringing. I'm like, who dare they? Like, how can you be so, disrespectful and negligent? I'm sitting there and then I'm like, and my client looks down and is like, is that you? I'm like, no. And then, oh. And I'm like trying to turn it off and the bailiff's hand comes in. And then a few minutes later, it was. Have you ever seen Ren and Stimpy? You know how like where they zoom in and like they have the and the hand will come in or something. It was like that. I felt like I was in an episode, and my client looks at me and is like, "I don't have to pay that, do I?" I was like, the very first client, my very first case as a lawyer with a license.
Found in contempt.
Found in contempt. And every single malpractice application I've ever had to fill out. Have you ever been found in contempt? Yes. My very first day. Cell phone contempt. $100 because my phone went off. I've learned to not do that. It hasn't happened again.
Don't do it. Be all right. Any others? We good?
I think we're good. Thank you for not jailing me for whatever stupid thing that I've ever done in court.
Yet.
What? Yet.
Yeah. There's always another case, remember. There's always an opportunity
to
stand out.
If anybody puts me in jail, I hope it's you.
Because I'm going to be filming it and sending it to your wife. Summer, guess what happened?
Please let me
like
not be it.
Photos. We're all going to be like taking photos of it as it's happening.
It will be. I will go to jail for my client. I will go to prison. I am representing my client, Your Honor. I am sorry that it has come to this.
Your client left 5 minutes ago. He's not there to see you. But we're gonna get a good selfie of you and the bailiff, like, hey, in handcuffs. It's gonna be great.
I felt like I was in jail. You ever, when you walk down that long hallway down the corridor of Collin County?
The jail?
Yeah. Because I used to do criminal stuff. It's been 12 years probably since
Cluster 5. I understand.
Yeah. Jay Bender and I became pretty good friends on that walk one day.
It's a long walk.
It's a long walk. I'm telling you, it's a long walk. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
And it was awesome, and I look forward to seeing you.
It's always the first and last, right? It's kind of one of those deals. We'll be invited back.
No, we'll have you back.
Oh, you'll come back.
Yeah, and we'll have you after. We need some kind of significant event that will bring you back. Maybe after the next election,
right.
Or especially if you lose, we'll have you back.
Dang
I can say what I want. I don't have to worry about it.
I never really liked you, Tom.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Your book sucks.
Yeah. So remember, don't buy my book, according to Tom. And thank you very much. And if you'll be in good hands in the 366, you'll have a very good, fair judge. And we will see you on the next episode of the Lawyer Dana podcast. So like and subscribe, comment. If you hate Tom, put some hate on there. And even bad comments help our YouTube channel go up. So go ahead. We like the good ones, but all right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.